This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and today I'm going to review a FOIL response that I received, and I'm going to talk about the Sur-reply made by an attorney from the city of Syracuse that claims that I am asking them to create an opinion. What I'm going to show you here is a proper FOIL response. I foiled exactly the same data that I foiled from the city of Syracuse, from the town of Roxbury in Delaware County. Very small town, not particularly sophisticated, but they managed to fulfill my FOIL request within a week properly and in full. Whereas the city of Syracuse has had since January, it's May now, and I still don't have the data. They've delayed me and obstructed me, and for no reason. Well, they have their own reasons, but they're not legitimate, nor are they lawful. I asked for the cost valuation report for a particular taxpayer's property because the taxpayer asked me to look into it. And so this is the cost valuation report. It breaks down how the land is assessed. It breaks down how the residence is assessed and any improvements. So you can see what they're charging per square foot for this and that, and what they're charging for a half bath, and you can see if they have all this data correct. And then I asked for the comparable sales report for this property. It's the same property as is the cost report, and we compare it to properties that recently sold. You see down here at the bottom it says sales price and the sales date, and you can see what these properties sold for, and then you can see up here at the top it says neighborhood. So they're all in the same neighborhood code, so that's good. They're all in the same school district code, so that's good, because if they're not, that can be non-comparable. You got to verify that. The land size is all very similar. They're all of the same age. These are good comparables. The condition is all the same. I have to verify that they have the condition classified properly, because if it's only in fair condition, it shouldn't be compared to properties that are normal or good. But in this case, this is accurate. And so in this case, we went through it. The taxpayer had a concern. We got the data. We looked into it, and we established that he was not overassessed, significantly. And so he didn't pursue any appeal options because it wasn't necessary, because the assessor got this one right, which is it's not always the case. But we have all the data. So and then the comparable assessment report. So these are properties that did not sell, but what they're assessed for. So this taxpayer is assessed for $227,500 down here on the left. So he's the lowest assessed out of all of them. It's just by a little tiny bit. But if it's way off, then I look to see why. Do they have a different number of bedrooms or bathrooms or whatever? If you look at this second property, it has 4 bedrooms. This one has 3, which is odd because the square footage is identical. So that's kind of curious why that is. But anyway, they're all very similar, and it just demonstrates that the other properties aren't assessed for less. It looks pretty accurate, and the comparable sales, he only paid $130,000 for it, and he's currently assessed at $227,000, but he bought it in 2020, and since COVID, the market in that location, it would explain why he would go up to $227,000 from $130,000. It's just the way the market was. So he's not overassessed. But anyway, the Syracuse says that at 3:08 in the previous video that it was on YouTube that they pointed to in their reply, he notes, being me, that the most important document to him is the comparable sales report, which is true, which he describes as a document indicating what the assessor thinks are comparable sales. And that was a generalization to lay people about what this so what this it's what the final assessment thinks, what the RPS data thinks. I'm not asking the assessor to think. They already thought about it theoretically, and it's in this data. So I'm requesting data after the tentative roll, which is the final work product of the assessor. They don't have to give me data before the tentative roll because it's not final work product. But after the tentative roll, it's final work product, and I'm entitled to it. So if the assessor had previously created a comparable sales report, I want that. If they chose their own comps, I want that. If they didn't, I want the default report, which is indicated right in my FOIL request. So I don't need their report. The default report is fine. I'm not asking them to create a new report and choose new comps. I'm asking them to run the report on the previous comps that are there, or run the default report. That is not the creation of a record, and it can be done with reasonable effort, so they're required to do it. So that's about all there is to that. The deputy commissioner of assessment in a public hearing said, "Why do we have to give you our data and you don't have to give us yours?" Well, the city is subject to New York State FOIL. I am not, as a private individual, and neither is my client. But the thing is, if you wanted my data, all you had to do was ask, and we can review it and try to get to what's right. I have no problem giving you my data. Let's exchange data and come to what's proper. But they don't want to do that. They just want to say, we're always right. On every single one of our 41,500 properties, we're always right. And, I'm actually helping them do their job properly. I'm doing the analysis that they didn't do. They probably haven't done an analysis on this property in years. And they never ran a report. And if they did, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And previous to that, they hadn't done it since 2005. So, and then they went on to say that I joked about the comparables, whether or not they're comparable. Well, that's exactly why I need to see the comparable sales report. If they're not comparable, we should find properties that are comparable and do a proper analysis. Or if there simply are no comparables, perhaps cost is the proper valuation report, which is why I would need the cost valuation report. But also the cost valuation report helps me compare how these different comparables are assessed, whether or not they're charging square footage the same across the board, and whether the data that they're basing their assessment on is accurate. So with this data I can verify that. But they don't want to give me their data. Now the town of Roxbury gave it to me within a week. They're acting in an above board fashion because they're not hiding anything. But apparently the city of Syracuse is hiding something. And probably they haven't done a revaluation since 1996, and their role is in disarray, and they're trying to cover for that. They don't want to be accountable for how they come up with these figures, probably because they winged it. They didn't do a valuation. They were paid to do this job, and it doesn't appear as though they've done it, and they're trying to hide that fact. And so if they're above board, they'll just give me the data, and we'll see how the numbers turn out. This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy.